Welcome to the show. We are your hosts, Tyler, Garrett, and Craig. We're just a few D-gens from upcountry with backgrounds in law enforcement, firefighter, EMS, and military. We love gaming, drinking, and talking about whatever crosses our dark minds. Grab a drink, sit down, and enjoy. This is the Casual AF Podcast. Welcome to the Casual AF Podcast. I am your host, Tyler. And now, instead of Craig, I have Garrett. Craig is busy, but we got Garrett back.
Back.
Guess who's back? Back again. How was Poland?
Poland was a blast. We had a absolutely amazing time. Beautiful country. A lot of really cool stuff. The city of Krakow was absolutely beautiful. We went and did the Auschwitz tour, and then went down to Zakopane.
Didn't find any bears, right?
Bears? No.
Okay.
No bears.
Okay.
We did go hiking. We did like a 14-mile hike to like this. I think it's called Mosioko. It's like a lake up on top of the mountain, and there's a bar at the end of the hike. It's pretty cool.
Saw the pictures. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was a beautiful spot. But yeah, no, Poland, absolutely beautiful country.
I don't know what it is about mountains, but I see like a beautiful picture of mountains and shit, and I'm like, it's hard.
Yeah,
I don't get
it. Yeah, no, it's fucking incredible. Just the absolute fucking like beauty of it is, I don't know. There's nothing to compare it to.
I just had a memory pop up of the waterfalls that we went to in Rutland, Vermont. And for the longest time, I couldn't remember where the fuck it was until I got the memory, and it told me the location where I took the picture, and I'm like, no shit. And I found it, and I was like, damn, I want to go hike this again and go see it.
Yeah. I mean, it was really cool. There was another like portion of the hike we could have done, but we were already kind of like late by the time we got up to the first little water spot, like the first lake that was there. You can hike up further, and there's another lake that's up higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we didn't have enough time with when we got up there, because we kind of got started a little bit late, and getting parking was kind of a bitch. So this hike is like all along the Slovakian border. So like where we parked, there was literally a checkpoint like right next to it. Like we could have walked over to Slovakia and hit like two countries in one trip, just to say we did, but we didn't do that. So we were pretty beat by the end of the day. But it was really cool to be able to see like, hey, there's Slovakia and we're here, and just like hike along the mountain line the whole time. It was pretty neat.
How did just because now talking to someone that's been more in person there, how did I don't even know if like atmosphere or just like what was your feelings in Auschwitz?
Every time I describe it, I say incredible, but not incredible in like a good, it's almost unbelievable.
That something like that happened.
Yeah, and it was like this heavy feeling the entire time. You were like so close to like tears for like so much of it. Like it was nuts. The feeling was, I've never felt it before. We didn't realize, or I didn't realize, it was two parts. So there's Auschwitz and there's Auschwitz Birkenau. And Birkenau is where like all the, like when you see the movies of Auschwitz and stuff, that's what you see, is like where that big building where the train goes through.
Yep. Where all the train carts came in, where they got yep.
Yeah. So we went, when we were coming into the town, the GPS brought us to the parking lot near Birkenau, And so we originally walked there first, and then we had to take a bus back over to Auschwitz 1 is what they called it. And then Auschwitz 2 was Birkenau. So we took a bus over to Auschwitz 1 is where like the main tour starts. So we did a tour, English guided tour, just so we like knew what we were learning, and they would talk about certain things and go over it and show you different parts. We were glad we did it and kind of bummed we did it too. Like there was some times where we would have stood there and read a lot more stuff, but we were just kind of like, you were on a little bit of a schedule, so they kind of just pushed you through some of the stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Where we would have liked to have been able to read more stuff. Like we were like always at the back of the pack for the tour, but we all had headsets, and the tour guide had like a microphone, so she was speaking through all the headsets.
Yep.
So no matter, as long as you were within range, you weren't. Yeah. So like you didn't have to be close enough to hear with everyone else talking, so you could be kind of back further and listen to her talk. But we went into, so Auschwitz 1, you start there, which is where like the I can't remember what they call it, like where you walk in and there's like that
big gate.
The gate, yeah.
Yep.
So the gate, and it says, I can't remember what the Après Med Free or something like that. It's like something freedom. But anyway, so you walk in there and they bring you in and show you all the like all the blocks, which is like all the different buildings that they had. So this part was almost like barracks. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't think I ever realized that this was part of Auschwitz, or this was Auschwitz. And so we learned a lot about it. So that's where they have like the rooms full of the shoes, the rooms full of the suitcases. There's one you go into and you're not allowed to take pictures. I mean, for rightful reasons. But you go in and it's a room full of the hair that they cut off. Like when they brought them there and cut their hair off, it was just a room full, like in glass and just full of hair. It was like, I walked in and I was like, holy shit. I was like, this is insane. I mean, it was, you walked around the room and it was just glass cases as big as those ones with the shoes in it, full of hair. And I was like, wow, did not expect that.
Oh my god, not gonna lie, like you just saying that, because I've seen the pictures of like the shoes and stuff, and now you're saying that with human hair.
Yep. Like all the women's hair, and
that just gave me like chills.
Yeah, it was, like I said, incredible, but it's not like it's
incredible. Like it's not like, I don't. Yeah, like you said,
it's incredible that the human race can do something like that to one group of people, whether it be religion, race, color, or creed. You know what I mean? It's insane.
That's the stuff that you can look at and like, this is the definition of evil.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. Like to go through that, and then so we walked around to other parts. They brought us into one of the blocks that was like where they did all the trials for like the Jewish trials, like the ones that like committed resilience, or I think it's resilience is what they called it, or resistance. The resistance. Yeah, so if you resisted in any way, and like their rules for resisting were nuts. And then it had like the different cells that there was standing only cells where you had to like, they forced them into like the bottom. There's like this little door and a cinder block thing that was probably 3 by 3 room, but they forced you in a door on the bottom, and so you could only stand. That's like, it was just big enough so you could stand. You couldn't sit down, like you had to stand, and they'd put them in there for days. It was nuts. And then like they showed us like the death wall where they would execute them after the trials, and they reconstructed it. The old one either fell down or they tore it down, and then just put up like a memorial kind of wall instead. And then walked around, saw some of the other stuff. Saw where they had like one of the biggest hangings, like the biggest public mass murder, which is, they hung like, I think it was 12 people at once, in front of like the roll call area. And then so we were walking out, and they bring you out like a different section of where we walked in, and you walk out, and they're like, all right, now we're gonna over here, this is gas chamber 1, gas chamber and crematorium 1. And we're like, oh wow. I was like, I thought, they destroyed all of them, but they kept one, and that was at Auschwitz 1. They kept that one there because they used it as a bomb shelter after they stopped using it. So once they stopped doing gassing and crematorium there, they used it as a bomb shelter in case of attacks, so they could go in there and hide, because it's all concrete and it's underground.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, now we're gonna walk in, and we're gonna walk you through the gas chamber and the crematorium. She said, you can look up and see the holes in the ceiling where they drop the gas in. I'm gonna Teflon? No, not Teflon. Something. It's a pesticide is what they used. Something B. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Something B is what they use as the gas, and they would drop that's where they would drop it into this one. So this one wasn't the one with like the shower heads. This one was just where they would just drop it in manually and then cover the holes. But like walking in there, you could see scratch marks on the wall and shit. Like you literally walk in, and it's like the same path that they would have walked everybody else in. It's like walking into like a cellar hole, and it was like the eeriest feeling.
You're standing where people died.
Yeah, thousands and thousands and thousands. So we went through that. That was another one of those feelings where you're just like, like, wow,
yeah,
like, this is fucking crazy. So after we did that, we went back to like the main building where they have like a bookstore and all those things, a little cafe, so you can get stuff before you go to the next part of the tour. And that's when we went to Birkenau. And so we walked into Birkenau, and you walk through like the main gate where like the train would go through. And so basically what they had you do is walk the path that they would have walked to the gas chamber. So they brought us up along like the railroad, the tracks, where they'd get off where they'd unload all the train cars, and then they'd go through their first selection. And basically if you weren't able to work or couldn't work, like if you were too young, too old, unable, didn't have a skill that you could do, that's when most of it was women and children, that they would just be like, okay, the men go this way, and then we're going to bring you back, like all the women back to get cleansed. And that's like, you're going to take you to the showers, and they would march them to the back. And there was crematorium 2 and 3, or like gas chamber 2 and 3, one on each side of the tracks at the end of the railway. And there was a fourth one that was out back in the woods. Like, this place is massive. It's way fucking bigger than I ever would have imagined it being. like where we were standing towards the end of the tour, we were in like I think it was block 1 area where a lot of the women were kept. And those were those were like the original structures, the bricks that they tore down all the houses in the village. They evacuated the citizens of the village, and then they tore down all the houses and rebuilt all these buildings using the brick that they tore down the houses, and built all these barracks basically with those.
Oh, okay.
So we were standing there and looking across to the other side, and you couldn't see the fence on the other side. And it was just chimney after chimney after chimney, and just like in rows all the way across the field. It was so much bigger than I ever imagined. And then you see the woods, and you're like, oh, it just stops there. And then she's like, no, there's actually crematorium 4 is out in the back with some more buildings. Or where there was more buildings out there near that one too. And I was like, oh wow. It keeps going past where you can see. It was absolutely insane.
Wow.
But definitely I'm glad I did it. It actually kind of sparked like a little bit of interest in learning more about the Holocaust and about Auschwitz, and just the sheer size and the feeling that you got when you're there is just unmatched.
I need to get over there and see it myself.
It's incredible.
Um,
like I said, it sounds like such like a wrong word to use for it, but it is absolutely incredible.
I'm just more of one of those people that I want to go there to see it in person and try to get as close to the feeling as what they dealt with.
Yeah, it's
like, obviously with everything that happened, the people there can't reenact that, but being there in like you said, going into one of the gas chambers and then just standing there and be like, this was your final place of goodbye.
Yeah.
Or walking through those gates and say, like me, where I have a wife and child, I get split off from my kid and my wife.
Yeah.
Like, they go this way, you go this way. You're going to be put to work for the rest of your fucking life until you die. You have no idea what's going to happen to your wife and your kid.
Right.
Like,
yeah, it was probably, like I said, it was the most intense feeling I've felt. For sure.
Same thing of like going to the beaches of Normandy. I want to go to the beaches of Normandy and stand on that beach and be like, hell was here. Hell took place here.
Yeah, we were talking about like other places we want to travel. And I was like, I like traveling to places where there's history and where these things have happened. And
I would love to go this is a crazy part on me. I would love to try to hit Afghanistan or Iraq. Yeah. But guess what? I'll probably get my head chopped off if I try to go there right now.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was like. So I think in general, being in Poland, walking the streets that the Nazis walked, and like the Germans, and the streets that have just seen so much conflict throughout history. Like, Poland has never been in a great spot really until the last, I can't remember how long, probably 20, 30 years.
Right.
They've been like themselves, but to be a country that's been in conflict for so long,
getting close to it with fucking Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly.
Me and Craig made a joke, and we're like, Garrett's just kind of sneaking off to the front line. He's just using Poland as an excuse.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, just so like, Auschwitz obviously was an intense feeling. We went to the Jewish district and the Jewish ghettos, which is where they the Germans originally and the SS originally housed all of these. That's where they transitioned everyone. All the Jews was to these districts and ghettos, and built a wall and just walled them into this one specific area of Poland, and it's just outside of, or it's in Krakow. It's on like the south side of the river. Looking at the map, the south side. And there's the Schindler's Factory, which is like the Schindler's List, is the movie. It's about this German that made a factory and basically.
Hey Garrett, I'm looking for some good food, a good time, and a good drink.
Well, if you're in Hillsborough, New Hampshire, you can stop by Main Street Grill and Bar, which offers a great drink selection and some amazing food by very talented chefs.
Main Street Grill and Bar in Hillsborough, not to be confused with those cucks in Berlin, New Hampshire. The Main Street Bar and Grill.
But wait, what if I want to play a few rounds of golf?
Main Street Grill and Bar is also located right at Anglesey Golf Course, where golf is unapologetically fun. Whether it's food, drink, or 9 holes of fun, the Main Street Grill and Bar will meet all your entertainment needs.
And this is totally legit, and it's not scripted.
Not at all. No.
The feeling we got after doing that was kind of like one of those, he's such a great guy. Like, you look at it and you're like, oh, he's such a great guy. He helped save all these Jews and like basically save their life. But at the same time, we got this feeling like he wasn't really that great of a guy. Like, he was kind of like, what he was doing was almost like basically slave labor, but also helpful. Like, it was just weird getting that different output from it.
There was that fine line.
yeah exactly. But so we did that tour, and honestly, if anyone goes to Poland and do that, go to the Schindler's Factory, do it. I wouldn't recommend doing the tour guide, but plan on being there for way longer than you thought you were going to be there. We were like, oh, we'll go there. We were thinking it was going to be like a warehouse. They turned this place into a legitimate museum.
Oh, no shit.
And had so much more shit there. Like, they had photos and just photo albums. You could look at the photo albums throughout the war. It was the entire timeline of from 1939, when the war started, all the way through.
Oh, no shit. That's war. Cool.
So it was like a World War II museum of Krakow and like that area. So it was so much more than we expected, and it literally took us probably 2 to 3 hours longer than we thought it was gonna. We're like, holy shit. Like, everything we saw, it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. We were there for like 4 or 5 hours.
Oh shit.
We were like, wow, that took way longer than we thought.
That's somewhere I need to go. I like the World War II stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, there's just so much stuff. You're just walking around and you're like, the Germans walked these same streets, and like there was so much war and conflict in here. But the Jewish district and the Jewish ghetto, it was incredible to walk through there and just know like how much stuff has gone on. There's part of the wall that's still left. I don't remember what street it was on, but took a picture of it. But there's part of the wall of the ghetto, still standing in like this one like small part.
Oh, really?
So you can see the wall that they had built and to keep the people in. It was an absolutely incredible place to go. Outside of all like the bad that happened with the Germans and the Nazis and the way they treated the people of Poland and the Jews, and like, Krakow is an absolutely beautiful city. It's so beautiful. The streets are the cleanest streets I've ever seen anywhere in my entire life. You could walk around that place and not find a gum wrapper on the ground, a piece of gum stuck to the sidewalk, to the streets. It was insane. I took a picture at night and you could see the reflection of the moon off the streets.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like incredible how clean that city was.
I would like to go over there just because I'm huge into like the architect around there too.
Yeah, the architecture is beautiful.
Yeah. Because roughly around the same time you were in Poland, my mother-in-law and her husband, they went to Britain. And she just like was showing me pictures of the trip and like the churches and everything and all that.
Yeah.
And like I saw some of the pictures that you posted on Facebook, and I'm like, it's just crazy because we look at the buildings that we have around here in the US, and then you just look at across the sea and it's completely different.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And just the craftsmanship that comes in that comes out of like,
oh yeah,
like it's insane.
So the basilica in the in Old Town of Krakow, the church, it was on the outside was under construction. I was kind of bummed, so you couldn't see like the outside of it that well, like the towers and stuff. But the inside was absolutely incredible. Some of the pictures I posted on Facebook there, they were beautiful pictures.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, that blew me away.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. That's one of my favorite things to do when I travel. I just love the architecture of like the churches, the basilicas. Like the architecture in those buildings is insane. That one of my favorite things from the DC trip, and the thing that really sparked my interest in like architecture and stuff like that, was the Gothic Cathedral.
Yep.
In DC. Like that was the like start of being like, the architecture of these buildings is absolutely incredible. And so like when we went to Montreal a couple months ago, that was the same thing. We went to the Notre Dame up there, and they had like a light show inside of it, which was awesome. And would highly recommend if anyone ever goes to Montreal and that's still there. But I just love the architecture of those buildings, the towns, just walking around the place. It was absolutely incredible. Just seeing all that cool, just European style buildings. And just seeing how they change from different parts of the city, like the Wawel Castle in Krakow. It was through so many different centuries. There's one picture I have, and there's like, you can tell the different eras that each piece was built in, because it was so many completely different styles in one picture. There's like 5 different styles in one picture. And you're like, what the fuck did they do? Like, what kind of collage was this that they just slapped a bunch of shit together? But it was just mixing all those things together. It was insane.
That's cool.
But yeah, no, the trip overall, it was a blast. It was my first time across the pond, so it was cool to see all that, and definitely sparked an interest to do more like European traveling. Another benefit to Poland: super cheap.
Yeah.
So like 1 USD is 23 cents there. So like, or no, sorry. So 1 zloty for one of their dollars is 23 cents American.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like,
yeah, sorry, yeah, I flipped them around. Yep. So like we went out to dinner one time, and it was like, when we were in Krakow, I think the most expensive dinner we had was like 250 zlotys or something like that, and I was like, ooh, it's gonna be expensive. And then like I looked at my credit card statement, and it was like $50, and I was like, okay, that's not bad at all.
That's like a norm. That's like, almost like a like
dinner
here,
right? But like the restaurant was super fancy, and it was like,
that's cool. That's cool.
Incredible. We're like, what the fuck was going on? You know.
So that's another question I have. Was like, food. How was it?
Oh, food was incredible. I wouldn't care if I saw another potato again for a little bit, but but the food was great. They have so many different styles of food. I'll never be able to eat kielbasa and have it be the same again, though. because over there it's like a whole another level. It was fucking incredible over there. So in Krakow they have like this street market where they have, so Krakow being old town, or in the old town area, is where like the basilica is, the old town square, the cloth hall. They have in the, I can't remember what centuries, but they had guilds. So they had the glass guilds, the pottery guilds, the butcher guilds, and so they did that and had like this section where it was like a market. So they had a guy, like a blacksmith there, just making different metal art.
That's
and he'd
cool.
be doing it right there, like in the town square. And then they had like the clothing, the Polish pottery, woodworking stuff. They kind of incorporated all those different things, and then they had food. So, and then they had beer and wine. So you could just go over, order whatever you wanted for food, and then go over to the other place and grab a beer or wine or a hot mead. The hot mead was incredible. And then, but they had like different kielbasa, they had different chickens and like a whole bunch of different foods.
Nice.
I think it's Osiepik is a cheese that they have. It's a sheep cheese. It's made with sheep's milk. And then and it's like it's smoked, I think, and then they grill it. But the cheese, the way they grill it, it doesn't melt. It just makes it like warm and soft, but like a little bit chewy at the same time. It's weird how to like, you can't describe it, but the flavor is fucking incredible. And they had ones you could get it plain, you could get it wrapped in Black Forest ham, and then you could get it wrapped in Black Forest ham with like a cherry dipping sauce on the side. And I got it with just the Black Forest ham wrapped around it, and it was incredible. Girlfriend, she got it with the Black Forest ham wrapped around it and the cherry dipping sauce. And I tried a little bit of it with the cherry sauce, and it was amazing. I was like, wow, I didn't think that was gonna go good with it, but it was really good. Yeah. Yeah. But pierogies is a big thing over there. It's just like a dumpling.
Yep. Pierogies.
They do it with like potato and cheese.
Yep.
The different meats.
Usually, like,
but almost everywhere you go, you get like a side.
Yep.
And like one of your sides is probably going to be a pierogi.
Or some kind of potato dumpling. We have French fries here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like when we have kielbasa, Kristen always gets like pierogies, like frozen pierogies, and that's what we'll have with them.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And they have these things.
I'm like curious how like fresh pierogies over there would be like.
Oh, difference.
There's a big difference.
Yeah. We went to this one place. I think it was actually called Morskioko, which is named after that hike, or the like lake lake hike. It was in Krakow, but they had this. It was a like fried potato pancake. And it was almost like the consistency of pizza dough.
Oh.
But it was like grilled fried, like kind of like how Mingdu does like their fried dumplings. You know how they like pan fry them.
Yep.
And it was incredible. They had like this garlic butter sauce. So you just like put it on there, and it like just melts over it, and it was amazing. Yeah. Then they have like your fried pork chops.
Mm.
But it was like breaded fried pork chops. Those are really good. I think our favorite meal, other than the last night, our favorite meal, just because it was very authentic and like a smaller, like mom and pop kind of restaurant, was actually in Auschwitz, which is actually Auschwitz. Auschwitz is the Polish name for the town. The Germans renamed a lot of the towns in Poland when they took over. So that's where they came up with Auschwitz or Auschwitz. But so it's Auschwitz is where, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering it now. But that's where we stayed after we did the tour. So they had this potato pancake thing. So it was essentially the same thing, but it looked like a big chicken cutlet almost that was fried, but it was potato. And then they had kielbasa, pickles, onion, and sauerkraut. And then another one on top of it with cheese melted over the top of that. And it was fucking incredible. Ooh. I was like, this is the greatest thing I've had on this entire trip so far.
Heavy
breathing. We were like 4 or 5. Yeah. We were like 4 or 5 days in, but it was absolutely incredible. Girlfriend, she got the Zurich is the local soup. And it's almost like a vinegar soup. It tasted like a pickle. It tasted like pickle juice a little bit. But was with barley and like some kind of like almost like a heavy cream, like a chowder almost. And it had, I think it was kind of like, maybe the consistency was a little bit lighter than like a heavy cream. So it was like,
why does this sound so good?
A little bit more water. I know. It was amazing.
I love
kielbasa,
pickle, and you said pickle juice in a soup,
eggs.
and I'm like, oh, this sounds delicious.
Yeah, it had like hard-boiled eggs, kielbasa, onions in it. It was amazing. She said that was her favorite new thing that she tried was that soup. Mine was. There was a couple. I tried a lot of new stuff. I stepped outside of my comfort zone when it comes to food quite a bit while I was there, just because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it because it could be different. It could be way better here. Same thing with pizza. We went to a pizza place because I was like, everyone does pizza different.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that their pizza could be different and be amazing, or it could be different and it could suck.
It could be shit.
Right. I did notice a lot of their tomato sauce with the pizza was a lot thinner and a little bit more watery than like here, so it wasn't as dense and thick.
Yep.
But it was still really good, like, and just so different. So many different like styles. Like it wasn't your buffalo chicken or chicken bacon ranch. It was like one of the ones I got was prosciutto and arugula on it, which was really good. But just different things like that. Everything had a different twist to it. Some of the places we went, the burgers looked incredible, but I did not order a burger. I was like, I'm not going to do it. I was like, I'm going to stick to the plan of getting different things. One of the places we went and got pierogies for a dinner. I got mine and it was in like a duck pierogi. So it was filled with like a shredded duck. Ooh. And some sauce. I can't remember what the sauce was, but like that they were kind of in, so you could like just basically use it and like dip it in. And hers was with like a stew that was incredible. So there's just different things like that, like, but it was all incredible. The last story I will tell about the food, so our last night in Krakow when we came back from Zakopane, the mountain town there, which we weren't thrilled with. If anyone goes to Poland and wants to do like the hike that you see on TikTok all the time, do a day trip. Don't spend more than a day there because you'll go out of your mind a little bit. It's very tourist. Yeah. And basically I was like, you know what? I don't think I missed the Hopkinen Fair because all the vendors are here. Like it was just the shitty novelty, like there was New York Yankee hats in like these places and really? Just like shitty chamois, like just trinkets basically. But it was every single one was the same. There wasn't one that was different. They all had the same shit. They all had the same magnets. They all had the same shirts. Like it was just all the same.
Yeah.
So if there was one thing we learned, it was one day there would have been plenty. But so we went back to Krakow and stayed there. Got a really nice hotel. And the hostess at the front desk, we asked her like, hey, we planned on going because we were going to go to a Michelin star restaurant. That was like, well, let's go to one of these because we're not going to be able to do one of these and have it be as cheap as it's going to be because just because of the currency exchange.
Yep.
So we're like, all right, well, we found a couple. She put in like a request for a couple of reservations from 2 different ones to see if we got either one. But she's like, well, she was really good when we checked in. So my girlfriend's like, let's ask her if she knows of anything. Like, she seemed really helpful. Maybe she'll like give us some good pointers as to places to go, bars for drinks, and just things like that. So we went down and she asked her, she's like, this is where we planned on going. Is there any other places that you recommend that might be better, and that are just like a little bit more local? And she gave us a couple different options for like bars. One of them was in like an old synagogue, an old Jewish synagogue. So the architecture inside this bar was absolutely incredible. It was super, super cool.
That's cool.
The drinks were good. And she gave us a one of the food choices was a Israeli restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So it was Noah is what it was called. And it's basically a sit down and it's all shareable. So they recommend ordering like 5 different plates and they bring them out as they come and you just share everything. So it's like we got lamb kebabs, we did a veal omelet thing, a different hummus and some other thing. It was like a deconstructed tzatziki is the best way I could describe it, but it wasn't that. It was a little bit different. I can't remember what the name of it was. And there was something else. And we got like pita and it was all fresh homemade pita. Everything was like homemade, done there. So the hummus that we got was homemade. And it had one of them had chickpeas, one of them had crunchy chickpeas, spicy crunchy chickpeas. So I don't like hummus, and I've never liked hummus. I've tried a whole bunch of different ones, never liked it. So I was like, I'll try this one because it's probably homemade. It's probably better than the rest of them. Like, I'm just gonna try it just to humor it. So I tried it, and I was like, wow, that's actually really good. I like it. Like the texture wasn't bad. It was good flavor. And I was like, this is really good stuff. So, and then the chickpeas, the spicy crunchy chickpeas were awesome too. They were like corn nuts almost.
Yo.
So I was eating that and I bit down and I felt something just explode. And I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, I looked at her and she's like, you don't like it? And I was like, no, I do. But my tooth just exploded. And she's like, what? Like, I just broke my tooth.
Grenaded my tooth.
Yeah. So I was sitting there feeling around. I felt like a piece, thought it was a piece, but it wasn't. It was part of the chickpea. I kept feeling around and I finally found it. And I broke one of the towers off of my fucking wisdom tooth. Like one of the high points of the molar. It fucking split that off down the side of my tooth, like from the top down to the bottom. And there was just like pieces everywhere. I was like, oh my God. And I was just sitting there. I was like, this is going to hurt. And I was just waiting for the pain to come. I was like, I know what's coming. This is going to hurt and I'm going to be fucking miserable. I'm glad this is the last night. And I was sitting there and nothing was happening. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. So I drank some water. It was cold, like colder water. Drank some water and kind of just switched it around to see if I had any like sensitivity to cold. Nothing. I tried, I ate something hot and just kind of put it like chewed with it close to that tooth, but not quite near it because I didn't want to chew on that tooth.
Yeah.
Anymore than I already had. I feel like I had kind of worn out the fucking expectancy of that one.
Possibly of cracking it open, you just expose the nerve.
Yeah. So like I was just being really careful, and there was no heat sensitivity, so I was like, okay, that's good. Like that's a plus. That means it's not super like there's no really exposed nerve endings. So I just focused on eating everything on the right hand side of my mouth. And like we went back to the hotel, and the hotel bar was amazing, and it was in one of the it was like the 14th chapel or something like that in Krakow. So it was a bar inside of a chapel in this hotel. So the architecture of that place was super cool too, and the decoration and stuff. Really, really cool places. But we went to like the hotel, went back to the room, still didn't feel anything. It started to like ache a little bit, and I was like, okay, it's really gonna hit. So I took an Excedrin and went to bed, woke up the next day, and it still didn't hurt. It's like basically now it's like just a dull ache. It doesn't it's not like an irritating one. It's just there. So but I was like, yay, fucking end of the trip, and I just exploded my tooth. I'm glad this didn't happen like day one.
Right.
You know?
Oh, miserable the entire fucking time.
Yeah, exactly. And then the rest of the travel home was just nothing but delayed flights. Delayed in Krakow, missed our connection flight in London. Then had like we sat on the plane at the gate for another 2 hours waiting to leave there past the original leave time. So we didn't get back to Boston until super late, and it was a shit show.
Fuck traveling. That's the only part that sucks about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we realized British Airways kind of sucks. There was just so much shit that was wrong. Their app is fucking terrible. It doesn't communicate with their website. You use the app, it sends you to the website, but then you have to re-log into everything. And I'm like, the app just fucking sent me here. And then at the top of the page it says, oh, download our app. And I'm like, no, because it's gonna fucking send me here. Why would I do that?
It's just a gateway
I was
thing.
like, what the fuck, you know? And we'd sit there and like, you'd check into your flight, and it'd be like, yeah, here's your seats, blah blah blah, and you could pick your seat and everything would be okay. You'd open the app, go to download your boarding pass, and you're not checked in. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah, I am. I just did. Like, it was just stupid. So
don't lie to me.
Krakow Airport, they have 3 counters open for all the British Airways customers. 3 counters. There was some airways that had fucking 6, and there was nobody at them. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we got in the line, and it was so long. We're like, fuck, we're gonna miss our flight, or it's gonna be really close.
Yeah.
And then it got delayed, so we're like, okay, guess it doesn't matter. And my girlfriend, she signed up for the alerts. Like, so she's supposed to be getting alerts saying our flight's delayed. Never got any of the alerts. Like, okay. We were getting ready to board the plane, we got to London, and it was like, hey, your flight's delayed. And she's like, thanks, that was on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a fucking shit show on the way home. But the overall trip was absolutely amazing. We had a blast. Saw some really cool stuff.
What was the flight time from there back to like Boston, or like, across the sea?
So from Boston to London, I think it was 6.5 hours.
That ain't bad.
No. On the way back though, it's like 7.5. Like, so from London to Boston, just because you're flying against the wind.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit longer. But like, my flight was delayed out of Boston by, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes. And we landed in London ahead of my schedule, my original scheduled arrival time. So I was supposed to get there at like 9:05 in the morning. I ended up getting there at like 8:55. The only shit part was every fucking plane, except for the one from London to Boston, every plane was a fucking get off the plane, take the stairway down to the tarmac, and get on a bus. That's how all of our flights were. Or to go on to the next plane was get on a bus. They'd bring you over to the plane and then go up the stairway to get on the plane. Like, these airports are so fucking huge. And, like, I guess every flight I was on, they didn't give a shit about having a gate. And they just, everything was like that. I was like, wow. I was like, this is fucking insane. So it just added so much more time to boarding the plane or getting off the plane. Like, it took an hour. It took an hour to get off my flight and make it to the other terminal from when I landed in London to go to Krakow. Luckily, we had like an 8-hour layover, so it wasn't a big deal. But we were gonna try getting out of the airport, but we just didn't get a chance to do it. So we didn't want to fuck around with customs and miss our flight from London to Krakow.
Right.
So like, let's not fuck with that. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. I highly recommend Poland as a country that, people travel to. It was a lot of fun. Good drinks. The vodka. Holy shit, the vodka.
So that was another thing I was going to ask you, because I've read a lot of military stories, and some of those guys turn around and say, everyone says the Russians know how to make vodka, but those fucking Poland guys, they make some good vodka.
Yeah, there's a huge debate between Russia and Poland of who created vodka, or which country it originated from.
Okay.
It's a huge debate, and we'll never know, because fucking someone's always gonna be right and someone's always gonna be wrong. But the vodka in Poland was absolutely incredible. They had a bunch of different kinds, different flavors. We went to this one place, is a vodka bar. That's all they had, like, for tastings, was vodka. So you could get flights of just vodka shots.
That's what my mother-in-law did, but it was whiskey.
Yep.
It was a whiskey bar.
Yeah. So we go in, and it's a flight. Their flights had 6 glasses, so it was 6 shots of vodka. So she picked 3, I picked 3, and we kind of tried them. They were a little bit sweeter than I would have liked my vodka to be, but they were really good flavored vodkas. So, like, they were all different flavors. And then we got 2 more after those. Like, we got 2 more each of, like, either our favorites or if we wanted to try a different one. Like, she really liked the salted caramel one, so she got a salted caramel, and then there was a cherry one that she liked a lot. I think cherry is really big in Poland, because a lot of their stuff was cherry flavored.
Oh, okay.
And, like, a lot of their different, like, they had jams and different things like that were a lot of cherry related stuff.
Yeah.
So the cherry vodka was one of my favorites too. It was really good. I tried another one. It was grapefruit, and then they had a cranberry one that I wanted to try, because I like cranberry vodka, and so that was really good. But when we were staying in Zakopane, we got like got a few beers and like a bottle of wine, and went back to the hotel room just to hang out. We had like a nice patio, and so we just hung out on the patio and drank. And we finished that, and we're like, let's go down to the hotel bar and get like a drink, and we'll get a shot of vodka, because we're in Poland. Like, we should just have a shot of vodka. So we go down, and the bartender there, he was really cool. The first night I went down, I needed a wine bottle opener, and then I went back to the room, and then I needed to go back down and get a bucket of ice, because I forgot to get ice. So I went down to just get a glass of ice, and he's like, would you like a I was like, bucket? He goes, yeah, bucket. I was like, yeah, I'd love a bucket of ice. That'd be great. So he was funny. He did like a really good job with his English, and like trying to like help me understand what he was trying to say. And so we went back, and he was the bartender that night too. And I was like, yeah, we want to do. She wanted to try the plum vodka, because I guess that was really big there too.
Oh, okay.
Like everybody recommended getting the plum vodka, so we're like, okay, let's try that. So I asked him, like, do you have the plum vodka? And he goes, yeah. He's like, what one would you like? Would you like the 50% or the 75%? And she looks at me and goes, fuck, I ain't drinking no 75% shit. Hey, give me the 50. I was like, I'll take the 75. And holy shit. So we bring him back to the room, and because we wanted a chaser in case we needed one. And so we cheers, and I took my shot, and I was like, holy shit. It fucking burnt all the way down until it found its resting place. It was rough. But it was so good. Like, the flavor of the plum was incredible. Like, it was very good flavored vodka.
It was great flavor, but it burned.
But it was, so this one was, it was clear vodka that was flavored. The rest of the ones we had been trying were flavored, but were like different colors. So you knew there was a lot of like different sugars or stuff in it. The plum, like, it was vodka with some kind of, like, they flavored it with actual plums or something. It was fucking vodka. So that, it was hilarious.
This is acid.
Like, yeah. But the drinks were really good. I learned that I don't know the metric system because America.
Yeah, no.
We went to this it was a German beer hall. And we went in, ordered beers, and she's like, do you want the half liter or the liter? And I was like, well, I want the liter. Yeah, I'll do a liter. And my girlfriend looks at me, she goes, yeah, I'll do one of those too. And so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we see this girl coming over with these two massive fucking mugs.
I was gonna say a liter is
that's what they sell their gas by. So it's by the liter, not by the gallon.
Yeah.
So once I figured it out, she's walking over with these two massive fucking steins of beer. And I was like, holy shit. And she looks at me and goes, what the fuck did you do? I was like, apparently I don't know the metric system, and we should probably learn that before we order anything else.
It's almost 34 ounces.
Yeah. So, like, I have the picture, and the thing is literally the cup, the mug is the size of my fucking head. Holy shit. And that was after the market, where we had drank 2 beers and hot wine.
Add 1 more beer can, that's how much you drank.
Yeah. In 1 glass.
Yep, in 1 glass.
Yeah. So that was after the...
Because we do pints around here.
Right, yeah. So I'm thinking, pint, 16 ounces. I was like, that's probably what they're trying to say, or like maybe it's like a little bit bigger than that. I was thinking like the Brutus glasses from like Applebee's, like one of those tall glasses.
I remember I saw the picture. Glass. You put it up against your fucking head.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, this thing's fucking huge. But yeah, no, the beer was really good. Some of the beer was like home beer. Over there, one of the biggest beers like on draft, Brooklyn Lager. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh,
how'd they get that shit over here? Like, it's literally the Brooklyn Beer Company, or Brooklyn Lager Company, whatever it is. I ended up getting that at one place because I was like, I'll take a draft beer or draft lager, and Brooklyn Lager was their draft. I was like, fuck, I wouldn't have even ordered it if I'd known it was gonna be that. I was like, I can get that shit back home.
Yep.
But yeah, no, everything was amazing. It was really good. It was a blast. I highly recommend Poland as a country that people visit. It's a beautiful country. Nice people, super nice people.
That's something like I always like. If I were to do that, the only time I've been out of the country is Aruba. So
right, and that was the same thing with me before. Like Barbados was my one outside the country trip.
And where we were, it was
Canada.
And where we were, it's super tourist. So it's not, you don't really get to experience it.
Yeah.
But if you went inland in Aruba anyway, you're more than likely gonna get kidnapped. So, just because that was the funny part when like we landed in Aruba, my mother-in-law's husband was like, "You go right here for cab pickup, no one else." And I'm like, "Okay, good." And he's like, "If there's anyone that is trying to get you into their taxis or anything, don't. You go right to where the taxi pickup is. There's gonna be a place outside." I was like, "Got it." And literally we get there, walk out, and I instantly caught on to like what he was talking about. And Kristen goes like, "Is it like?" I'm like, "Nope, this way. Like, we're going this way." And she's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yep. Follow me. Hold my hand. Don't let go."
Right. Yeah.
And then we got into the car and we're driving to our resort, and she's like, "This is Aruba," and I'm like, "Well, this is inland Aruba," and it is like, it's what was that? It's like almost favelas.
Yeah,
like you're like, "Are we this is where we're supposed to be vacationing?"
Right.
And I was like, "Yeah, this is inland Aruba. We're gonna go to more of the tourist side of Aruba." And then once we got to the resort, she's like, "Oh, this is way different." I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, I mean that was the same with like Barbados, a lot of that area too. Like there was some areas that were, rougher and not as wealthy. And then you get to the outskirts, like
where the
anything
beaches
around the
are,
beaches are, like that was where the money was.
Yep.
We
have all these companies that buy up the property.
Yeah, and it was the same in like Poland. Some of the towns we went through, like you could tell it was like a lot rougher and lower income, and then you get towards like different areas or the outskirts of the city, and it was much nicer properties and nicer houses. I mean, the architecture of the houses out there was fucking cool too.
Oh,
like
I bet.
There was a lot of houses of like I would like to slap that on a piece of land back in like back home. Yeah, like that'd be a cool house to have. But there was something else I was gonna say. The people. So we tried to like learn a few different phrases to say, to use like the local language, and sometimes you get yourself into trouble with that because you say it and then they expect you to know a whole bunch, and you're like,
"Oh, they throw a paragraph at you."
Yeah, and I'm like, that was actually all I knew. Do you know English?
They throw it back at you and they're like, "Yeah, you got me there."
Yeah, good one. So
you're so funny.
Dziękuję is thank you. So we were trying to use that like whenever we'd get something, we'd talk in English, but then say like dziękuję, thank you in their language. And it didn't catch on as much. Yeah, it didn't catch on as much in Krakow, but when we were in Auschwitz, the restaurant we went to, that like mom and pop style place, the lady brought our check over and paid it, and she came over and grabbed it, and I was like, dziękuję. And she's like, "Hey," like it was like really happy that we knew, like, so, and she's like, then like gave us like this phrase back, and I was like, I don't know what that meant. And she's like, it means, she's like, have good night, good night. And they're like, "Oh yeah, good night." And so, but she was like really like that was the first like really positive reaction we had gotten to saying thank you. And I was like, "Yes, score." Did it. And the bartenders at the bar at the hotel that we stayed at in Zakopane were the same way. Like said dziękuję, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and then spit off that same phrase again, and I was like, "Yeah, you got me again. I don't know what that means."
Son of a bitch.
And like he added a bunch of different things to it, and like he tried to like, he's like, "Do you want me to teach you?" And I was like, "Dude, I think it's probably going to be a lost cause." I was like, "I'm never going to remember by the time I get back to the room, and after I take this shot of vodka, I think it's probably going to erase my mind." Yep. So, but it was a lot of fun. The people were they were very, very nice. The place that they weren't as nice was Zakopane. That was that mountain town. It was very Alpy, like an Alp town kind of resemblance too. But they were less friendly there, or less I think they were probably just sick of tourists, to be honest with you. And like some people were really nice, and then some people just like
fucking Americans.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, they weren't rude about it, or they weren't like mean about it. It was just they were a lot shorter with their like talking or like even service at some of the restaurants. They were a lot shorter.
Yep.
With it. But Krakow, the service was amazing. Drinks, food, everything was great. It was a great time.
That's good.
I want to go back to Poland, but I want to go to Warsaw and Gdansk is like the it's close to, it's like a seaport town kind of.
Okay.
And everyone that we talked to recommended that. Craig actually recommended it too. But we met this couple, and it was we were in that market area eating like just like some of the stuff, like the pierogies was one of the things we were eating, and this couple came up and like, can we stand here with you? And we're like, yeah, no problem. And so we're me and my girlfriend were talking, they were talking, and like she was talking some stuff in Polish, and then he was responding in American, and I was like, that's kind of weird, or like not American, English, but he had like an American accent, like he didn't have like an English accent or anything, and he goes, Americans? I was like, yeah, how'd you tell? Like my tattoos on my arms kind of give it away over there. But he's like, oh, yeah, he's like, I am too. I was like, oh, no kidding. And so we started talking, and they were from Gdansk, is where they lived. But he ended up, they got married. She lived in the U.S. with him for a while, and then they moved over there. And they're staying there for a while now too.
Oh, that's cool.
But they were super nice people. But they're like, you got to go to Gdansk. It's absolutely beautiful. And we're like, okay, like that's probably on the list. So we both decided like that is a country that we would go back to, and then go to the northern half, because there's a lot of like Holocaust history and stuff in Warsaw too. That we'd like to go to, and different things in that area that we'd like to go and see, just to kind of tie the rest of it together. But yeah, out of everything, I think Auschwitz was our top of the list of things we were glad we did while we were there.
Yeah,
it was just absolutely insane, and
that's the thing.
Incredible.
Like, I don't know. I think that's maybe some like a persona that some people might think is like when you're out in these other countries, is like, oh, everyone's not gonna really talk to you or whatever. But it's like, no, people are actually really fucking nice if you just fucking talk to them.
Yep.
Aruba, we were hanging out at the bar, the par, and just a random couple that was right next to us, and just start chit-chatting it up. Like, they were actually on the island, and they were just on the beach side, and then it's just they're being friendly. It's people being normal and just having conversation. Not everyone's an asshole. Like,
right. Yeah. With the traveling that I've done, even within the United States, I've met some of the coolest people, like going to like hotel bars and just different restaurants, and I've met so many cool people traveling. But like outside of the US, like it's like a whole nother world too. Like everyone is just so friendly. Super nice.
That's another reason
like
why
they
I want to
invite us.
get out
They
more.
told us, so like, if you go to Gdansk, like come stay with us. We're like, oh, okay, met you for 5 minutes, but
that's normal.
It's like, what the fuck?
Me, I'm like, you ain't coming to my fucking house.
Right. Yeah, it's completely different cultures, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
That's why I want to get out over into those countries more, because just to see the different type of culture.
Yeah. It is super cool. Just everything about it, from cuisine to drinks to culture to
everyday life.
Everyday life, the different stores, the different, just the different things, the history. The history part of it to me is super cool, and that's why I want to travel more now. Or want to go to like some of the different places that I want to go to is like has history ties to it, because I think that's really interesting to kind of go and see those places to kind of tie things together. And my girlfriend, like, she's a history major, so a lot of her stuff was focused on around World War II and the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why one of the reasons why she wanted to go to Poland was so she could go to Auschwitz to kind of
be there and
put that
experience
piece
in
of the
person.
puzzle together for all the studies that she's done and all the studying she's done. And
stop reading books, stop looking at pictures, and actually see it in person.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it, is like I can look at pictures, I can read into it and everything else all day and like love it, but I want to see it in person and actually be there where this happened.
Yeah. I can tell you that none of the movies or none of the pictures that I've ever seen of Birkenau even fucking compare to being in person.
Yeah.
Not even close.
That's like one of my big things why I want to get over there and see it, is just to have that experience.
Even my pictures that I posted, like, they don't do it justice, and you can't tell how big it is. Like, even you do wide angle, like you do the ultra wide angle lens or ultra wide angle photos, and like it still is
the panorama.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Like it's insane.
Yep.
And just the feeling to go with it too. So when we showed up there at Birkenau, like when we went to the parking lot, when we were walking up, it was like earlier in the morning, and it was like cloudy and foggy and like just dew on all the grass. And it was like, it gave me chills, and it actually just gave me chills again thinking about it. The way the environment was at that point gave it the eeriest feeling. Like it was like a little colder, like we were wearing sweatshirts, and it was just like foggy, you couldn't see. So like when we showed up, we couldn't see how big it was because you couldn't see the trees, you couldn't see to the other side of the field at all.
Yeah.
Because of the fog. So it was like that sombering feeling with the attitude of the environment too. It was crazy.
Right. Yeah, so. No, like that's like I still haven't been to Ground Zero.
I haven't either.
I need to go there.
And we just watched a documentary on 9/11 last night, and I was like, I still haven't been there. I want to go to the museum.
I want to go there to stand there and be like, yep, this is where one of America's worst travesties fucking happened.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know. I'm just one of those weird people where I want to go to where some crazy stuff in history happened, but it usually came with a lot of bloodshed and like Normandy. I want to see the beaches.
Yeah. That's on my list of places that I want to go to.
Go over to the cliffs where the Rangers fucking climbed and shit. Like seeing that and experiencing, like, just to look at it. Like, I've seen videos and I've seen pictures, but like to personally see there and go like, these guys climbed up this while ropes were getting thrown off and they were getting shot at the same time. Like the balls on these guys. And the beaches in Normandy, like the balls.
Yep.
To run across that beach.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Like the pictures, like who did it? I don't know who it was, but I saw it like on social media where they took the pictures from World War II and they went to those places in present day and then they photoshopped them together.
Oh, I saw that. I don't know who did it.
I don't know who did it, but like he did like a bunch of them, and he found the picture where it happened, and then he would go to that town, that road, or wherever it was, and he would Photoshop them into mesh them, and it's like it's so cool because you're like, this is what it is now, but what is it, 80 90 years ago, 80, oh my god, 67,
a lot of years ago,
like it was a complete fucking war zone.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was like just walking on the streets there was like these streets have seen so much bloodshed and so much like
walking into Auschwitz and
conflict.
This looking around, be like, there be thousands of people here.
Yeah. And there was over 1.1 million people executed. 1.1 million. Like, and I was like,
I can't even imagine standing in that gas chamber.
Yeah.
And like how you explained it to me and what you saw, like I can't imagine standing there and being like, some dark stuff happened where I'm standing right now.
Yeah. And then the part of like the whole experience, the part that got me the most and I teared up more on was, so at Birkenau they have like, it's a rubble where the gas chambers are there because the Germans bombed them when they knew the Soviets were getting close.
Right.
And so they bombed them and everything just kind of collapsed in on itself. So you can still see the stairway where they originally walked in. They were told to undress and take all their belongings, leave them there. They'd be able to get them after they went into the cleanse and got out of the shower. They'd be able to come and get their stuff and then move on through. And they didn't know that they weren't coming out of that.
Yeah.
So they would go in thousands at a time and go into these showers, and that was it, But so then they'd remove the bodies and put them right into the crematorium, and they'd burn all the bodies there. And they had to get rid of the ash. So there's 2 pits next to gas chamber number 2, 3, 4, 2. There's these 2 pits that are still there, and that's where they dumped all the ashes. And then once the pits were full, they would have the workers dig all the ash out, load it into carts and trucks, and they would take it to the rivers. So Auschwitz is built in between 2 rivers, and they would take it to the rivers and dump the ashes into the river. But those pits are still there, and like you can see them, like they're clear as day. One of the pictures I have is of those pits, and it's just like, it's like that was standing there was like, just made you so emotional, or that's what got me.
That one pit is a fucking graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough emotionally.
Yeah.
I can't fucking even imagine.
No.
There's no words, and no one ever will be able to imagine what they went through. Other than those that were there, but it's fucking absolutely insane. But
yeah, or like the pictures of the suitcases and the shoes and stuff. Like seeing that's, I was like,
and that's not even all of it. That's not even close to all. They have storage, storage containers full. That's just what they could put in there.
Right.
They said they have so much more in that they're still going through, trying to put names to victims, to trying to see if they can track, what happened with those victims. Like there's a lot of research still going on there. One of the, where we were walking in, there was a couple people that were literally on their hands and knees. Like they obviously worked there for some kind of historical archaeologist kind of stuff, and they were like on their hands and knees. So the walkways in between the two fences. So they have two sets of fences with like a path in between that the guards must have walked or something. At Auschwitz 1, and they were like on their hands and knees just sifting through the rocks and just trying to see if they could find anything, and like they were picking up things here and there and throwing it in the bucket. Like they were just literally going on their hands and knees just trying to find just different things in the rocks. So like it's still a very active like research and investigation kind of stuff. Like it was neat to see that they're still doing so much with it, trying to learn more about the history of it.
And there's people that turn around and say it never happened.
I know. It's unbelievable that people could have so much evidence right in front of them and not be like, oh yeah.
So I never knew about the room with the hair.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I never knew about that until you said it. So when you said that, I'm like just fucking chills. I'm like, it is different when you see shoes, glasses, suitcases and stuff. Like, okay, that's a lot. But then when you see human hair, it's like that came off of somebody.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, shoes and everything else do and stuff, but like when you see the remnants of that person,
yeah, it was. I did not expect it. Like we were in one area and they had like some pieces of hair that were cut off, and like on this thing, like with some of the other stuff, and I was like, well, that's kind of creepy. And then we walked into the next room and I was like, holy shit. I was like it was like such an eerie and just
it hits you in the fucking gut.
Yeah. I think Craig said it like really well. It's like the most oppressive feeling that you'll ever feel.
Yeah.
Being there. It's just, there's no way to describe it. Like the weight, there's like a constant weight and just like sadness. It's insane. But it was really cool is a shitty word to use. Interesting and like life-changing experience to be able to go there. And see that. It was pretty impressive.
It's definitely a thing where you're going there and it's not going to be a happy time.
Yeah. Like we planned, like that's why we stayed nearby and in town, was because we knew at the end of that we weren't going to want to drive back to Krakow and stay there. Like that was all we planned for the day. That's all we did. We went back to the hotel and just hung out.
Yeah.
Relaxed. And then just went out to dinner. Like it was a lot. It was a draining day.
Oh, your emotions are just at an all-time high.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was crazy.
Like if you're not feeling,
definitely glad we did it though.
If you're not feeling something going through there, might be something fucked up with you.
Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was nuts. But
what do we say? That was Garrett's experience in Poland.
Yep. The old Poland trip.
We have our buddy back. Little tag out with Craig. Craig's busy on some stuff right now, so he'll be back soon, but
yeah, we don't know if he's coming back next week or what the deal is.
But he's just busy with some stuff with his work, that police thing in that small town.
Fun.
Yep. But we thank you oh so much. Thanks for hanging out and listening, all that good stuff. We love you oh so much.
Like, follow, subscribe, keep listening. We appreciate it. We see the numbers going up, and we like that. We like seeing the numbers go up. Do it.
What he said. Yeah. Peace.